I'm super excited for today's Ask Mel because it's a question that so many of you can relate to. And that is, what do you do when your spouse or partner is the opposite of you? And you're the one that's like super motivated and on the go, and they're not so motivated and on the go. And now it's starting to bug you. Before I go to Megan, who's standing by to talk about this issue and get some advice, if you want to appear in an Ask Mel, if you got a question, you need advice, the text number is right here. This is how you get onto this broadcast with me. Just send a text and somebody from my team will be in touch. Tell us what you're struggling with, where you are, how old you are, a little bit of information, and we will hopefully get you on one of our broadcasts in the very near future. All right, without further ado, let's go to Megan, who is standing by. And Megan, I'm super excited that you're on. And I think the biggest question that I have is, how on earth are you in a quiet spot when you have 6 children at home?
Yeah, it's not easy, but I have older kids that help watch the younger kids, so.
Gotcha. So tell me what's going on. What can I help you with?
Well, thank you for having me. I feel like I'm very ambitious. I have lots of goals. I run a business, and I'm also a contractor for companies, so I'm doing a lot. And like you
Fantastic.
said, I have 6 kids. So I also run the household. I take care of all of our finances. I do the shopping and the cooking. And I feel like my husband is just the complete opposite. He's happy where he is in his job. There's room for him to get promoted, but he doesn't want to be promoted. And in his free time, he just plays video games and watches TV. I don't want it to sound like I'm talking bad about him because I love my husband, but it's getting to a point where I don't know how to motivate him to help me more without me having to ask him over and over to do things. I feel like he wants to do things for me, but we just maybe need some better communication between us. I want him to take more initiative and to just take things off my plate, whereas he wants me to give him direction and more direction and more direction.
Are you the primary breadwinner in the household?
I am.
Okay. This is what I call breadwinner resentment rage. And I have struggled with this in my own marriage. And 40% of women who work are the primary breadwinners in their household. And when you are in a traditional heterosexual relationship where what was modeled for the men is that the guys go out and make the money and the women take care of everything, what happens at, I think, a subconscious level for a lot of men, because this is what happened for Chris, is that, of course, our husbands are proud of us, but our success highlights a insecurity that society and old modeling based on gender has created in men. And for women, the pressure on women from society is look good, take care of everybody, be kind, don't be bossy, serve other people. For men, their worth is defined by whether or not they're successful. And when you get into a relationship where your wife is the go-getter and your wife has the big career and your wife has her own business and your wife is making all the money, it subconsciously starts to bother you about your own success. And one of 2 things happen. It can cause a lot of fighting and picking in a relationship because of this dynamic. And because there's not a lot of people talking about it, so couples don't really know what's quite going on and how to navigate this thing and how the money plays a role into it. The other thing that can happen is your spouse can just kind of check out. And that's what it sounds like is happening. And so for me, this happened in my marriage, Megan, 5 years ago. When my speaking career took off like this, it happened at a moment in time where my husband's restaurant business was going like that. And so my success, as much as we welcomed it, and my gosh, this is amazing, and you go get him, Mel, in a profound way, it made Chris start to have a crisis internally about whether or not he was providing. And as much as he would say, Megan, to me, I'll help, I'll pick up the kids in the pickup line. What do you want me to get at the grocery store? What would happen for him is that when he would be in the pickup line at school, and 5 years ago, he's like the only dad he can see. And he also knows he's not a dad that popped out of work early to go do it. He's a dad that doesn't have a job while his wife is off doing something. It made him feel like a loser. It made him feel unsuccessful. Running to the grocery store at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sitting in a pediatrician's office with a kid, just subconsciously makes a guy question, what am I doing? Like, how did this happen? The way that women have so much pressure to be thin that when we pass a mirror and we've put on extra weight, we're beating ourselves up subconsciously. And so that is the dynamic that's at play, because I am of the belief that there are some men that are just jerks, that they were in a household that was very chauvinistic. Mom did everything. That's women's work. But that's not what's happening. You've got a guy that says, yeah, I'd love to help. But then when it comes time to self-motivate, he's not doing it. And so here's how you change that dynamic. First of all, the two of you, away from the children, need to have a conversation about how his success is impacting, how your success is impacting him and his goals. That's number one. And does he need anything from you? As crazy as it sounds to ask him if you can do anything more, but I'm talking at an emotional, psychological connection level. The second thing is to express very clearly what you need from him, which it sounds like you've done. Mm-hmm. The way that this becomes a new pattern in your relationship is that you create a weekly schedule, and the two of you go over this schedule once a week, where you walk through what's going on. And maybe overnight, it's not you're cooking dinner every night or you're doing pickup every day. Maybe it's, hey, these days are busy in the office. I need you to do this at 5 o'clock. I need you to do this at 4 o'clock on Thursday. Could you schedule the PD? Like, you just are going to have to assign how you want things done. Because the second dynamic is, if you're successful, which you are, and you're also a business owner, which you are, you're a really good executive, which means you know how to spot what needs to get done and create structure around it. It's in your nature. It's what you do. And when somebody isn't doing it, you jump in and do it, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And what you're starting to do is maybe you're collapsing your need emotionally to feel like you're being supported by your partner with the fact that when it comes to executive functioning skills, that's not where he is. And he needs your support and your coaching to know how to take care of you in this way. And instead of adding a layer of resentment or I don't want to have to ask, I think you probably need 3 months of asking so that he has been communicated with very effectively about exactly what he should be doing week to week to week to week, so that you feel really taken care of. And I put it in the language of, if you want to take care of me and really support me, the way that I need your support is through X, Y, Z. Versus, we got to split the household, we got to do that. It's put it in the language when Chris connected the dots, that doing things and being the primary parent and doing more around the house was a amazing way to be a caretaker. That's when it really clicked for him. That he didn't have to buy me a bunch of stuff. He didn't have to take me out to dinner. If I came home and there were fresh flowers on that kitchen counter and he had run to the grocery store, I felt like the luckiest woman on the planet. So what are you taking away? What are you taking away from this conversation?
For one, I need to give him more direction and come up with a plan for us. I think that's what I was lacking before. I was just throwing tasks at him, and then when they didn't get done, I was getting mad about it and not using the certain kind of language, like you said. Just you need to do this, you need to do that, not how you put it. And also making sure that I'm there for him emotionally as well. I think I've kind of just been about me, and you're not doing these things for me, and not thinking about his feelings and where he's coming from.
And that disconnect where he starts to feel like he's less than, and you start to feel like the bitch that's giving orders. It creates emotional distance, which kills the intimacy and the ability to connect and support each other. And so the reason why I started off by saying this is breadwinner resentment rage, whether it's the one that he's resentful or you're resentful, that's the feeling that comes up underneath it. It's the frustration. It's the feeling not seen. And if you're high functioning and super successful, the other thing is that I bet in the early days of your marriage, as your business was growing, you were taking care of everything. And so I found that in my marriage, what happened is when it was time for Chris to step in and be the point person for our kids and the point person for our household, he was almost paralyzed because he knew that I was such a perfectionist. He was going to do everything. He was going to get it wrong. I was going to come home and huff and puff because the dishwasher was only half full and not loaded right. And we wasted this, or the shirts were folded wrong, just because it's like, And so then I'd be like, I'll just do it myself. And then they're like, oh, okay. I'll go play video games. I'll go cut the lawn. Okay. And then you start to pick at each other. And so I would start the conversation by saying, I want to apologize to you for something. They're going to be like, what? I'm not getting in trouble? You're like, no, I need to apologize to you for something. As I've been so busy building my business, I realize I have been barking orders at you instead of sitting down and creating partnership with you. And what I've realized more than anything is I need you. I need your support because I think I can be even more successful in this business and for our family. And I think I can be a better and more connected partner to you. And I want to walk through specific things that I really need your support on and talk through them. And then I'd like to come up with a plan where every week we sit down and just talk about what each one of us and what our family needs so that we create it together. Yeah. And to set your expectations, it took about 5 months of doing this with Chris before the flowers, when I would come home from a business trip, were automatically bought and on the counter. And I'm not talking like some big fancy thing. I'm talking like the packet of daffodils or lilies at the grocery store. That's all that mattered to me because I knew when I was coming home, because I traveled a lot for my business, and I saw those, it was a sign that he was thinking about me. It was a sign that he had remembered something that really welcomes me back into the home and makes me feel like somebody's excited that I'm there. And it makes them feel, as your partner, like they're doing something that really supports you.
Yeah, that would be a nice change because now I only get gifts when I'm really mad and he wants to make me feel better.
Well, now that's what I would do. So I would have that conversation tonight. It'll be transformative, but have in the back of your mind, this is a 6-month transition plan. So you are offloading the CEO of the household role to a new executive that's coming in.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And the other thing that was hard for me is letting go of how things got done.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for me too.
Well, it's worth it if what you get in return is your spouse supporting you, you and your spouse feeling more connected and empowered, and fresh flowers on the counter.
Yeah, exactly. That would be great.
Anything else you want to say?
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for helping me with this. I'm very happy that now I feel like I have a plan in place and we're going to make some progress.
Yes, you are. I'm really excited for you too. Let me know how it goes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.